It's Podraza. I'm not making any of this up. Pat, because you are the psychiatrist, your husband will speak to Stephen. And if he asks him that question, I want an answer. Was it legitimately, if there were an interest intellectually? Was it my weight? And I want an answer. I want an answer because I was tortured. I'd murdered those thin females. We're so proud of our weight, and they're as thin as a Twiggy if you're young, so that I don't mean to insult you. It used to be an old model who was as thin as bones, and she was a model. Some of them are more voluptuous today. I want the answer on that one. If you can get an answer, I want an answer. I want a direct answer, whether it's he or a reference of, this is your field. Now, I should have been in it, but this is your field and we're working together. I want an answer on that. I was tortured like crazy, or is it the hooking industry that I'm tortured by? That they have to be paper thin, Twiggy style. They probably have a news clip on that one. But that's exactly the old days type of model, Twiggy, and she was that thin. Now, anorexic is not what I should be, but I want to know how he feels about that. That matters to me. I've been tortured by them. Tortured by the males who are proud of it, and worse, by the females who are sporting it all over the place, how proud they are of their figures. I do have to eat, and I do have to have that piece of bread in the night, and I cannot do better than that. I eat very constructively, still researching the noodles you suggested. I haven't got to that yet. I never use those chickpea noodles, etc. And a kale sauce is quite delightful. Trying to make my own eventually. But anyway, that's where it's at. I have been tortured by them. So badly, they were visually in Connecticut. They were visually, brutally in Massachusetts, and tortured by them. It's Pat again. There was a discussion in McDonald's on the Savadoves and IHOP, and one of them was a lady, 3 young girls, I think was a bisexual. Whether she would have taken me, I had to turn another direction. Very pretty blonde, reasonably young, nice figure, very refined. The little girls were very well behaved, and I had a nice conversation. Of course, it was horrific torture on this, because I read the obituary on Robert Savado. There was an Oriental supposedly divorced from her. I can get along with some, and I don't want to deal with a samurai. We know that. My father had PTSD after Japan, after the war, a year and a half there, came home, and apparently had dealt with that element there. Now I know what PTSD is. Now the issue was in that office, whether it was Robert Savado's son, who wore his hair without the lacquer in it and was grayish there, or was it Nato's and how that impact of a married in. And I'm going to tell you, there was a reference to weight at that point in time. He happened to have a high metabolism, I feel, or something had gone wrong. Originally, Robert Savado was a very thin male. I happened to notice the suit, and it was a beautiful suit, the Air Force color, dark and almost a sheen to it. And what I'm angry at, his eyes were so gorgeous and like pools of water. a bit red-rimmed as if he'd had a hangover or had cried. And I didn't know what the situation was when I'm in a horrific mess. I never heard what he said until he moved his body and faced me, and we got 50-50. He walked out the door, which was a glass one, different suite that Deborah had when I went in town from the original suite, which was a bigger suite. Now, I'm going to tell you that is complicated because I don't know who is who on this. And I tried to save that male's life in that office over in Lewiston because of what I've lived. And I gave lengths of time of analysis to his phone number with his voice on the end of it. Very serious stuff. It's Pat Podraza. I could ask you, ruined in what sense in 3 states? Now, I am under the assumption you are defending me on this subject matter and your husband. I've only asked for Joel Hall's approval because I don't agree with what went on in there due to the females and their obliteration situation. There are rehabs for drugs, and that is it. This is my mind, and I was set up and messed up by an element. I'm assuming that. I've sent you an email that I feel I have a right to, and I feel I have the intellect and the abilities to deal with that kind of a husband. Now, if they're married, that's why I opened it up in Massachusetts and why I opened it up in Connecticut. But my home is this apartment, and we build from there. If you're defending me, I can visit you and your husband, but this is where it's at because of what took place against my son also, which I do not believe in. That is my assumption, and I wrote you emails on that. I feel I have the right to do that. If they don't understand, I'm not allowed to talk to. Who do they think they are that they are poisoning me on this subject matter when I do not believe in their philosophies of ruination anyway? And that is the situation on this subject. I don't ruin. That is straight fact, and that is tangibility. I lived that, and I expect that this is no lawsuit, 10 Commandments. I want a husband that knows that's correct. And most frequently, or not frequently, might have suffered some of those situations, period. That is where my mind is at right now. How they feel those ruination stuff is not my way of living. Now, I'm assuming that. Now, what you've heard, I agree I was ruined in 3 states. It goes farther, but those are the 3 states that I was in. Those are tangibilities. I lived that. Part of that is definitively, or most of it, with DHHS and Social Security, supposedly in their files. As you can see it, I feel I do deserve pardon. I'm sorry to bother you. Thank you for that email. The issue is there's never been an encouraging mail concerning my avant-garde theory of health. There was Stephen Kotler on homeopathic, and I believed in it. I deal with Joel Hall, who's done well with me. Now, this has gone on since my father, way back, when he consulted a naturopath when I was 7. I was raised, the background of my both grandmothers are important. Farm, cooking, my father had a smokehouse, fresh vegetables. My grandmother, outstanding cook. They cooked alike. Ireland, from country in Ireland, and they are excellent cooks. One of the brothers was a medic in the war, and Harold was a model. This runs on both sides of the family. I know nutrition. I feel and thank you for all of your input on that. It is it is correct, and I'm trying to work with what I've got financially. You've got the background. My son had basal melanoma. It's disappeared by the grace of God. I prayed my head off. Now, he was put on hormones, and I don't agree with any of this. We fight on this because I believe he has not heard a male stand behind me on any of this stuff. And I don't want to break the relationship on this. I can't count on this. I cooked this way all my life, and it never mattered to any male, period, that I happen to not be a stinking rotten cook. Me as a baby ate anything and everything. He had a high metabolism. He ate any casserole under the sun. No, he never liked steak, but he ate hamburger, chopped beef steak. Not only was the roast beef one, we used to go to the chart house, salads, ice cream. He still has some desserts. He was always a good eater, and even if he has a pizza, he wants good stuff. And I feel she is a good cook. I know nutrition. Now, I'm not lording that over you. You know it also. Now, I am upset about this. His doctor may be good in some respects. I don't want him on Mucinex. I think he gets upset and goes toward asthma. I want him on nothing but naturopathic medicine. I don't know what hormones he's on. I don't approve of that. What is he on?